Hello there, my name is Liz, a self-confessed succulent addict. Welcome to my channel, Growing Succulents. Over the years, people have sent me countless messages via my social media and some even on emails asking what the identity of their newly purchased succulents. I can understand that without knowing what plant or succulent one have, it can be difficult to know exactly how to care for them. One person sent me an email asking if I could identify 350 of his or her succulent collection. Identifying even one succulent can sometimes take hours or days even. What more for 350 plants. Another person I've replied to had made it a habit of sending me plant photos on a weekly basis, others just once a month, but with sometimes 10 different plants with photos of one plant taken on different angles. I'm laughing, but this is no laughing matter. I don't want to be rude by not replying, but this has taken up so much of my time. So now in this video, I would like to share with you how I identify newly acquired succulents with no labels or names. I just bought 3 new succulents that I don't know the identity of. I have a little bit of idea as to basically the species, but I don't know for sure the exact name. Now this one to me just looks like a cactus. So I don't know what it's called, but I also have an idea. I've got Tylecodon, I've got Tycolodon or Tylecodon. So as you can see, I don't know all these succulents because there are so many different types of succulents. This is one weird and funky little cactusy looking a plant that I got about almost 2 years ago now, and I did not have a name for this, and so I looked online. The only plant that I can see sort of similar looking to this one is called Edithcolea grandis or Persian carpet, but it had beautiful big flowers. And I was hoping that I've got that plant because I could not find anything else. And now today, that name is gonna be no more because it flowered finally. Check the flower out. It is gorgeous. And as it turned out, not an Edithcolea, but a Euphorbia squarosa. How? -4, which is good. It means I can put it in the garden somewhere. It might not be the exact variety or cultivar of this plant or plant name, but at least now I know the species. By knowing so, I can now look after it much better. Another leafy succulent that could look like anything, and I do have similar looking plants in my collection. But as to the identity or the exact identity of this plant, I wouldn't have a clue. This one is another plant I picked for the same reason. I do already have this plant. I do know the identity of this plant, but that's because of years of experience. So having so many different types of succulents also helps me in identifying this plant. Also, it also helps that I do already have this plant. So I do know what it's called. But for the purpose of this video, I am using this plant, which I also bought recently. So pretend that I don't know the names of any of these succulents. So those two, basically, I have an idea. But that one, I haven't got a clue what that is. And this one here, I have an idea, or more to say, I know the identity, but I'm gonna pretend I don't know. So I'm gonna try and look for this succulent. The very first thing I do when I do get a new succulent is take a look at Mr. Google. So first thing I type in succulent variety, and Mr. Google will show me images of so many different genus of succulents. So there is cactus, it says, there's echeveria, there's identification, purple, guide, small, large, orange, mini, spider, crassula. So all these different ones. So I'm just going to pretend that I don't know what these are. So I'm just going to scroll through quickly and find out which plant would actually look similar to the plant I have. So after finding out that this plant is possibly an echeveria, I then get out of succulent variety and type in echeveria or echeveria or echeveria. And now I click images, and then again I will be presented with all different images of different echeveria. So, and then if I find something that, hang on, that resembles the plant that I have, then I would click on that image, and then again, wrong image, but I will be presented again with all these different similar looking plants like this one with names on them. And then sometimes I get lucky and sometimes I don't. And if I don't get lucky, then I would go to different succulent. I would look online again for succulent sellers. And I will be presented with all the nurseries or 13 best places to buy succulents online. Succulents Express. We're here in Australia, so each country will have different stores that sell succulents. I don't have a preference as to which store, so I'm just going to scroll through, and then if I go through that store and then find out what they're selling, or normally they have succulents with different names, then I would go have a look at that and find my plant. Now, here in Australia, we also have a website called Echeveria in Oz. Echeveria in Oz has got a lot of different succulents that are listed in there. So I would go through there with lots and lots and lots and lots of photos and names of succulent. So I would go through one by one. So say for example, not really this plant, but when I do first acquire a plant, I would go through Echeveria in Oz or different succulent sellers online and go through their websites, their catalog, and look for the plant basically. So this one is called Echeveria Viand. So Echeveria in Oz has got, just say for example, they start from the letter A to Z. So they have a directory of A, and in A, letter A would have Echeveria Affinis, Echeveria Afterglow, any Echeveria that's whose name starts with an A. And you could imagine there'd be hundreds and hundreds of Echeveria. And by the time I get to, say, letter V for Viand, then I would have already spent countless hours or sometimes days in finding out. And also, Echeveria Viand in Echeveria Oz's website, they don't have Viand in there. So I have to go through online again just to find out the name of these succulents. So as you can imagine, it takes countless hours. And also, so this is Echeveria Viand that's just newly bought from the shops. So it's sort of long and rounded with little red tips. You can see those red tips. Now I have an Echeveria Viand that I've got for a couple of years. This is my Echeveria Viand. So this is the Echeveria Viand that I know. If I am not looking for those little characteristics that Viand is, that I'm familiar with, then I wouldn't know that this is Viand. But because of the shape of the leaves, and also it has a slight farina texture, or those white powdery stuffs it's just come off, then I wouldn't know that this is Viand. I would just say to myself, this is possibly Viand, until I get home and compare it to my succulent and also look online, then I wouldn't know that this is a Viand. So if someone would have sent me a photo of a succulent, say for example, a smaller Viand, not as big as this one, then the tips, you can see the tips in there, resembles so many other Echeveria. So it could possibly be a Lola, it could possibly be a Lawi, It could also be a Lindsayana. They're all letter L's. But anyway, but this one turned out to be a Viant. And also there's another plant called Pachyvaria that looks very similar to this one as well. So Pachyvaria scuticariae. So it also looks similar to this Viant. So it could be anything. And if I'm not sure, so say for example, now I'm calling this one Viant 2. So from now on, this is Viant 1 and this is Viant 2. Now this Viant 2, I'm still not sure whether this is a Viant, because Viant can throw off different looks as well. Sometimes the leaves are rounded and sometimes they're pointy. So this could possibly be another Echeveria or could be Pachyvaria. Pachyvaria is also a cross, a hybrid between a Pachyphytum and an Echeveria. So Pachyphytum is another genus of succulent, and Echeveria, of course, is another genus of succulent. And the two together are cross genus of basically a cross. So it's like mixing apple and oranges. So you have a pup range or an apple. Never mind how you mix it all up. So anyway, so that's one way of identifying succulents for me. Now, in the case of these ones now that I know nothing about, this one I have a Cyanocrassula. And if you look up online as to Cyanocrassula has very limited species. So there's only like 3 or 4 Cyanocrassula. I think the very famous one, if you type in Cyanocrassula, then it will show you Cyanocrassula unanensis. And also another one is Denticulata, and also another one is, I forgot now, Indica. That's it. So those are the only 3 major Cyanocrassula that I know. And I already had a look. This one could possibly be Cyanocrassula indica. As to any other species of Cyanocrassula indica, I wouldn't know because I can't find anything about this one. Now this one is the same, although they look very different. So Cyanocrassula has very freckly little red dots. There you go. So those little freckles there, that is where the trait of Cyanocrassula. So that's indication that it could possibly be Cyanocrassula, but I'm still not sure. So for now, those two, I'm going to be calling them Cyanocrassula 3 and 4 because I already have a Cyanocrassula 1. Now this one, Tylicodon, is the first thing that came into my mind. So, but it looks like a cactus, but it's not really a cactus because it doesn't have spikes in it or thorns. And it could be anything else. So again, I would go look up under cactus, or maybe I'm gonna end up looking for under succulents itself to find out the identification of this plant. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up with just say stick with no leaves or some funny names like that until I could finally find out what it is. So anyway, guys, hopefully I have given you some ideas as to how to identify your succulents. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day, and I hope you gain some perspective as to how to identify your newly bought succulents. Thanks for watching and happy growing.